You are listening to the Milkroots podcast from WXYZ Radio. Your host, Mr. Milkroots himself, will now take you away to long-forgotten roads of lore. You can hear the Milkroots podcast live every weekday at 3 on WXYZ Radio. Station only available in the outer realms of Universe 287 and beyond. All other non-human entities and sentient beings in the inner realms can find the audio on Milkroots' YouTube channel the day after recording. WXYZ, bringing you quality content that you can trust, since the elder age of 2785 XD.
Ding, 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 ding. You know what time it is. I just heard a noise coming from upstairs that went ding, 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 ding. And that's when I knew that it was time to start recording episode 29 of the Milkroots podcast. We're going to leave the phone lines opened today to keep things interesting. Not that this podcast isn't already interesting enough. You have entered into episode 29 of the Milkroots podcast. Hello, my name is Milkroots. I am warm and consistent like Thanksgiving dinner. I'm an insomniac. I just heard a noise. I think I'm also becoming narcoleptic. I just heard a noise. I find myself falling asleep while standing these days. Not just falling asleep, but straight up passing out. Not like fainting or anything, but I get drowsy and my eyes start to close and I could fall down while standing up because I fell asleep. Not that hasn't happened yet, but every time I sit down, I start falling asleep really fast. So I'm becoming an old person, basically. I already thought of myself as an old person, but that's one of the most old person things that I do, is fall asleep as soon as I sit down. So, as you know, Milkroots is 3 beings that are attached to one another. They're basically like twins, but they all have separate personalities. And you can kind of think of it as like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is something I never really thought about until my brother brought it up to me some time ago, kind of recently. I've been trying to figure out the 3 Milkroots, figuring out their personalities, because I know the main personality, the one that's speaking to you now, the middle one is kind of positive about things and fascinated by everything. And the one on the right side is kind of negative and doesn't really care about anything. The one on the left side, I think he's a little slow. I don't know what's up with him. That's my right and your left. Do you ever feel like you're trapped in a dungeon? Just kidding. The Milkroots podcast studio is a dungeon, and there is no escape. Alright, let's actually begin this episode now. Welcome back to the Roots. Milkroots, the Roots. Welcome back to the Roots. Get in touch with your roots, and if you're wearing boots, leave them on and never take them off. I got in another car crash last night. It was a dream. I can't remember if I swerved on some ice or if somebody hit me, but my car started spinning in the middle of the highway, and I crashed into the guardrail, and my car was like hanging off a cliff, but I came out perfectly fine. And then I just started looking for my phone to call my stepdad. I need to get this off my chest. I've been doing some bad things, really bad things, to myself. I've been eating the food that we make at the pizza place where I work, and I'm vegetarian, I suppose. I only eat plant-based foods, but I'm not that serious about it. I just don't eat meat or dairy. But if I eat onion rings that are fried in the same oil as mozzarella sticks or chicken and fish, mozzarella sticks, that stuff will make me sick, and it's just not good for me. If it's not a plant, it makes me sick. It's a physical thing, it's not a mental thing. But anyway, I can't help myself sometimes. I get hungry when I'm surrounded by food, and when I see the onion rings and the tater tots and the french fries, I just have to have some. I end up eating some. Sometimes I go a few weeks without eating that stuff, but every time I do, I get sick. So that's just one of the many, many unhealthy things that I keep doing to myself. But you know what is a very healthy thing that I do all the time? And something that you should start doing too. Eat one whole onion every day. Like a large or medium-sized white onion, or any kind of onion, I suppose. They're full of antioxidants and vitamins. They boost your immune system and also have detoxifying properties. You should be eating so much onion that your human waste matter smells like onions. Oh, and beets too. Yeah, I practically live on nothing but onions and beets. And that's how I've lived to be over 6 billion years old. Beets and onions. Ask your doctor if this treatment is right for you. I'm cooking soup right now, and I'm going to add a second whole onion into it. There's already one onion in there, and it needs more. There's about 2 tablespoons of black pepper in it. It's very spicy, and so many other spices in there as well. And I had to put sugar in it too. I haven't put sugar in my food in a long time. I don't like sugar, but sometimes it is necessary while cooking. You want to know something about me? I have never, ever in my life, burned rice. I didn't even know it was possible that people could just burn rice so easily, and that it happens all the time apparently, until one day I interviewed to work at Chipotle, and this story, if you have social anxiety, it's such a nightmare. I went to this interview thinking it would be a normal interview, and the guy interviewing me tells me it's a group interview. They're interviewing like 7 people all at once. How ridiculous is that? And, you know, me, so like I've got social anxiety and stuff, and I was very quiet, and all I knew is that I felt like I was qualified for the job, and I was confident, and I was the only one wearing a dress shirt. But what the part of the story that I'm getting to is we were all like standing in the back somewhere, and the interviewer had us lined up, and he was asking us questions. And I don't remember every question he asked, because I just remember this one question where he said, "How many of you have ever burned rice? Raise your hand." And I was the only person who did not raise their hand. And I looked around baffled. And I thought to myself, well, I definitely got this job. I'm the only one here who's never burned rice. But of course I didn't get the job. I waited to hear back from them, and I got an email saying that I didn't fit the part, basically. I decided to reply to the email asking why they didn't choose me, and they replied back saying, "We're just looking for more outgoing individuals." So I just thought that was really stupid. Like, they're not looking for people who have cooking experience. They hardly asked me anything about my cooking experience, and I was the only person who didn't raise their hand when they asked if you've ever burned rice. Like, I'm not even that good at cooking, but I've never burned rice. It's very easy to cook rice. But let's move on. Oh, we've got a caller. The caller ID says this person's name is John Wilkesbooth? No, can't be John Wilkesbooth. Probably another prank call. Hello, sir. You're on the Milkroots podcast.
Hey, Milkroots, how's it going? My name's John Wilkinson, actually, not John Wilkesbooth.
John Wilkinson, okay. So what brings you on today?
Okay, so I just...
Why are you calling?
Alright,
what do you want?
I was just calling to tell... Chipotle, man. I worked at Chipotle once, bro, and I gotta tell you, dude, their rice is actually made out of powder, dude. Just like their refried beans, bro. It's just powder that they add water to. And then it turns into rice.
Wow, I didn't know that. It's fascinating, the futuristic technology we have these days, where you can just turn powder into rice by adding water to it. I'm gonna hang up on you now.
No way, bro. I gotta tell you something else.
Okay.
You gotta quit drinking, bro. Lay off the alcohol. Your podcast would be a lot better. I'm gonna keep on listening, man. Peace out. Yeah, bro, yeah.
You know what? Fuck that guy. Here are some other notable dreams from last week. I mean this week, actually. Technically it was last week, actually, now, because it's Monday now. Did I mention it's Monday? And I'm probably one of the only people who are excited about Mondays, because my only day off is Tuesday. So Mondays are basically my Friday before my weekend, and my weekend lasts only 24 hours, a little bit more than 24 hours. I consider that the weekend starts as soon as I get out of work. I dreamed I ate a toast sandwich. A toast sandwich. For those of you who don't know, a toast sandwich is a slice of buttered toast between two slices of bread, with lots of butter involved. And I've never had one in real life, but in this dream it was very delicious. I've got to try it someday, but it seems so bland. I had this other dream where I helped some guy, some old guy. Face was very unfamiliar to me. I dream about unfamiliar faces all the time. It was some old guy, and I was helping him move into an abandoned house. He gained my trust somehow, and I was happy to help him move his stuff into this abandoned house, this dilapidated, decrepit house. And the next thing I remember, I was upstairs with a bed and a television, and the old guy was in there too, and I don't remember what he said right now. I'm trying my best to remember, but he said something that made me feel like I need to get on the defensive. I need to attack him before he attacks me. And then he walked away. He turned around, and then all of a sudden, this girl is there, and she kicks him in the head. She does like a karate kick to the back of his head and knocks him out. And it's like a typical like television or movie scenario. We called the cops, and then the guy woke up while we were waiting for the cops, and he was being nice to us. And that's when I woke up, or that's when I went to a new dream or something. I could talk about the dream that I had where my cat was human again, but that's not very interesting, is it? I say my cat because she's usually a cat most of the time, but she's a shapeshifter, so sometimes she's a cat, sometimes she's a bird, sometimes she's a fox, and she does become human every now and then. And she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life. And the last time I saw her in my dreams, I remember saying to her, "It's so awesome that we get to spend time with each other like this." And I remember what she looks like in human form. So every time I see her like that, even though she's not a cat, it's just like immediately I'm like, "Oh, Theodore, it's you. So good to see you in human form again." I've got some stories to tell you if you'd like to stick around. That's where this episode is headed. I'm just going to be telling stories and things like that. I've been wanting to tell this one story for a while now. Back in 1881, I was captain of the SS Ariel, and one day I found myself out in the middle of the ocean, 15 miles south of the Pacific coastline. I was taken by a rogue wave and crash-landed on an uncharted island where I met a tribe of human animal hybrids. Hold on, wait, that's not the story that I wanted to tell. Well, give me a minute. Just give me a minute. You know what, I'm lost right now. I'm lost in the pages of every book I've never read. You don't know how many books I've read all the way through. Let me think. Like a full book, and not a graphic novel, because if I'm counting graphic novels, that would add a lot more. But when it comes to books, there's The Hobbit and Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and Dragon Rider. Those are the only books that I can think of that I've read all the way through. And I've read a lot of stories. I've read, short stories. I've read a lot of Brothers Grimm's tales. And I like poetry a lot, so I'll read a whole poem, even if it's a really long poem. A lot of Lewis Carroll's poems, he's got some that are like several pages long. And I've read most of them, but it's still not a full book, So, yeah. And then there's Stephen King novels. I've read so many short stories, more short stories than I can count. And graphic novels, I've read a lot of those all the way through. But a full book, when it comes to full books, I guess I've only read about 4 all the way through. Is that something to be ashamed of? Oh, and also a series of unfortunate events. I've read at least 8 of those books all the way through. I think maybe even... Is that something to be ashamed of? Especially when I have so many books sitting in front of me, wishing that they could be read, gathering dust. Ah, the smell of books. They really send me to another world, to another place, to another time. When I come back from a book or a dream, I'm left wondering where I've been the whole time, and wishing you could stay longer. I fall in love with delusions of grandeur. I think to myself, it's better this way. Wade in and waiting things out. I'm not the guy, I say. Say it. Say it while you're still alive. She cried for an answer. Definitively. Went insane. Then died. Notable dreams from this week. I'd still have it if I tried. Do you ever feel like you're trapped in a dungeon? She asked me. But we shouldn't have to ask. The reasons are festering all around. In the fog. Back in the day, we didn't have as many questions. We covered everything in honey and got rid of all the money and wrote our lamentations in the sand. Nothing is definite except infinity. Or is it? What a thought that would come to mind at this time of day. What day will come to bring me in the house of humiliation? I should have said, I missed you, it would have been the perfect time. But I missed the initiation. For now. Figure it out for yourself. That's all we can do. Oh, we've got a caller. This is so exciting. Thank you for calling the Milkroots podcast. My name is Milkroots, and what is your name?
My name is Wendy Vagina.
You said your last name was what now?
I think your show is terrible and vulgar, and I think it needs to be removed from the television.
Oh, this isn't on the television.
It needs to be removed from the air.
Okay.
It needs to be taken off the radio. I can't listen to you anymore.
All right.
Every day, you fill my head with nonsense.
You have a point.
And it makes me want to kill myself.
I'm very sorry. I did not mean to be putting subliminal messages into your head specifically.
Okay, well, I think you need to stop with all the criminal activity and the vagrant, vulgar activity and the vulgar material. I don't want my grandson hearing it. He listens to your podcast all the time, and I'm really worried about his mental health.
Listen, ma'am, I'm very sorry about the way you feel. I'm happy to hear that you're a frequent listener, and that your grandson is also a very frequent listener. And but I promise that you will have a gift basket at your door within the next 5 minutes, and and everything's going to be better from now on, and you're going to have a happy rest of your life, and you will only see rainbows until the day you die, which could be tomorrow.
Okay, well, all right, well, you have a good day then, Mr. Milkroots.
Thank you so much for calling.
I love listening to you. Thank you. You're beautiful. Have a good day.
Oh, here we are. I found the story that I was trying to tell earlier before that call came in. So there we were, my crewmates and I. This is a true story that happened to me somewhere between the year 1300 and 1500, I'm not sure. So, there we were, my crewmates and I. 15,000 miles south of West Mendleton Beach. Stranded in the ocean, with no way of reaching out to anybody, and no means of direction. Old man Flim Flam forgot to bring his compass again. I knew I should have brought my own compass, but mine was reading backwards, and I couldn't afford to get a new one, unless I were to sell another one of my diamond-encrusted gold teeth. And I only had one left. 5 days in, all of us started hearing the tick-tock of a clock that was nowhere to be found. 6 days in, John started to look like a Thanksgiving dinner, but he became the ship's therapist in a sense. Oh my goodness, what's wrong, baby? Relax. Where was I? 5 days in, all of us started hearing the tick-tock of a clock that was nowhere to be found. 6 days in, John started to look like a Thanksgiving dinner, but he had become the ship's therapist, in a sense, and I needed him to help me contact the knowers and the doers Everyone always told him he should be a therapist. No one ever told me that I should be a therapist. Someone once told me that I was their imaginary friend. And then they cut ties with me when I started to get too real. Where was I? The irony of it all was that we were out there in search of the source of all love and peace. But all we found was hatred and discord. It was such a nice day, and we were all nettled about having to be stuck on a ship. When we realized we had been sailing for 3 days in the exact opposite direction of our destination, that's when all hell broke loose. My compass wouldn't have been reading backwards if John didn't drop it in the oil jug while we were mapping our course. But of course, it's my fault for not bringing backups. Probably at least 3, because you know how easy it is to lose or break a compass. But in that case, we should have all brought at least 3 compasses. Then we would have 9 compasses, and we would have been able to see in 9 different directions. But still, I'm the one with the gyroscope and the telescope and the captain's hat. Did I say I was the captain? I'm not. I'm just wearing his hat. Where's the captain? 7, 8, 9. So, everyone was afraid of 7, and everyone was panicking because we were stranded in the middle of the ocean. But I made a new course. Turtle Island. John said it was a bad idea, but I was the one holding the snail shell. So we landed at Turtle Island, and to our surprise, not one turtle in sight, except for the one giant turtle that we were standing on the back of. Yes, it turns out Turtle Island was named so because it was actually a giant turtle with a whole forest growing on its back. So everyone split up to forage for food, and I never saw them again. I was left alone. I found some strange coconuts to eat, berries, giant bugs, and some other semi-aquatic animals, all of which completely unknown to science. I built a shelter out of mud. Not sure why I chose mud, because there was plenty of lumber to be found, but I knew that eventually the turtle would find its way to land, because that must be where the mud is coming from. I was alone for I don't know how many days, until one day I started finding signs that there was another sentient being hanging around my camp. Was it one of my crewmates? Why did they abandon me? Are they playing a joke? Or is it malicious? Is John going to get back at me for eating his right pinky finger? Is old man Flim Flam still mad that I ate his beloved pet hamster? No, it couldn't be either of them. These droppings aren't human, and I know Flim Flam's droppings. It could only be Sasquatch. Sasquatch on Turtle Island? I remember the conversation I had with old man Flim Flam. He told me, Sasquatch can be found anywhere. They work with the Greys, the alien Greys. They travel through portals. That's why I sabotaged the whole journey and took over the ship, because I knew that Sasquatch would be hiding in the most remote location, a place that never stays in one place, an island on the back of a turtle. I staked out the Sasquatch for a few days. Eventually I realized that there were 2 Sasquatch. And that's when it started raining. My mud hut disintegrated, and I had to face the 2 Sasquatch without any protection. I stayed up that night, sitting by the fire, and it wasn't long before I heard a rustling in the leaves. I shined my flashlight into the bushes, and I swear the Sasquatch looked exactly like one of my crewmates. What were their names again? I believe we had at least 5 people on the ship. 5 bodies. 10 arms. But I knew it was just the Sasquatch illusion magic, making me think that it was one of the crew. I had my rifle with me. I hadn't used it this whole time. I didn't think I would need to. But this Sasquatch made a noise that sounded exactly like Old Man Flim Flam saying, "Captain Sev, we thought we lost you. We made contact with..." That's when I fired my rifle and shot dead the Sasquatch that was clearly trying to impersonate Flim Flam. Then 6 more Sasquatch jumped out of the bush. All of them were wearing masks of my former crewmates. They were closing in on me with malicious intent. I chose flight over fight and started running to the edge of the turtle shell. There I was, standing at the edge of a giant turtle shell, gliding across the ocean, and I could see a lighthouse in the distance, only about 300 miles away. I couldn't steer the turtle towards the lighthouse. I could only hope that it would go there on its own. And I couldn't rely on hope at that time. I had at least 10 Sasquatch headed my way, and I didn't know what they were going to do if they got me. So I took a dive, and my Olympic swimming skills kicked in from muscle memory. I made it almost halfway to the lighthouse, and I could hear the Sasquatch from the island yelling to me, "Captain Sev, we're being rescued! Captain Sev, come back!" The Sasquatch's ability to mimic human voices is impeccable. It's like a parrot, you know? You know, when a parrot mimics human language and it's all raspy and creepy? That's how you know. If you're alone in the woods and you hear a familiar voice but there's something off about it, it could be a bird or it could be a Sasquatch. Speaking of birds, did you know that pterodactyls are not birds? And pterodactyls saved my life that day. I was swimming to the lighthouse when the current started to take me over. My Olympic swimming skills were no match for the powerful waves that were quickly taking me under, where I would die. But a swarm of pterodactyls came through just as I was about to take my last breath. One of them mistook me for a sea sausage. That's what pterodactyls like to eat. And it scooped me up in its mouth and dropped me on the top of the lighthouse. So the moral of the story is, never trust anyone. No, I'm just kidding. The moral is, if you're sailing out into the ocean, bring at least 9 compasses. Okay, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. What? You have at least 9 calls in right now? Well, I can't do that many voices. Not tonight, at least. This podcast, this episode has drained my energy enough. Meow. I hope everyone is excited for episode 30 coming up. Who knows when? Maybe next week, maybe the week after that. I'm not sure. But episode 30 is going to be a very special episode. It's going to be a game show, a live game show with cameras and several people, and it's going to be hosted by a talking parrot. So get excited, and I hope you keep enjoying everything else that I've been putting out. Thank you for listening to the Milkroots podcast. Take care. Keep on keeping on.